Inslee as the one who initiated a panic that has cost the world $23 trillion. He has systematically shut down the economies of the United States and of Europe and of India, bankrupted economies in Africa, closed economies in Latin America, all because he wanted to scream fire in a crowded theater, based on presumed COVID deaths. Presumed. Now, this curve that he kept saying we had to flatten has since been flattened. The reason the emergency was needed was because hospitals were going to be overwhelmed with what was coming in. Now we see the hospitals are not only underwhelmed, they're having to lay off personnel because he has suspended elective procedures in the hospitals, from which people are dying in this state. So Mr. Inslee, I'm just going to say this. Mr. Inslee will forever, historically, be hung with this responsibility. Now, there are two courses of action before us here in Washington. One is to allow this to continue. I'm sorry, I'm going to speak louder than your chopper blades, okay? Pardon my speaking while you're interrupting.
Let's let them hear us!
Here's the truth. Mr. Inslee's lockdown, which he said is going to continue until there's a cure. How many people, when would we cure the common cold? Anybody got an idea? Oh, that never happened, did it? We're going to continue until there's a cure. If we do that, this state is going to be economically totally destroyed and completely conformed to something that is non-recognizable. The other course of action is that this Supreme Court restores the Constitution by taking down the stay home, stay safe order. We deal with what we have right now, and we begin to clean up the mess. With that, I'm going to file the case right now.
What they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and send by email directly to the Supreme Court the brief that they put together. They're all going to hit the button together, and it's going to go straight to the Supreme Court.
Are there any questions?
We're good?
Do we have any questions?
Matt?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Essex, go for it. Can you yell?
First, I missed a little bit of this. I'm looking for Mike from Graham Fitness. Is he here?
No, Mike is not here for that.
Oh, sorry. No,
Mike
Jellison. Sorry.
You're talking about Mike Jellison? No, you're talking about Mike Baker.
Mike Baker.
No, he's not here.
Oh, okay.
And he's not a plaintiff.
He's not here. Okay. All right. Tim?
Oh, that is him. That is Mike
Mike,
Baker.
wave your hand, please.
Is Mike here? Oh, Mike.
Join us. This is Mike Baker. Introduce him.
This is Mike Baker from Graham Fitness.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Give it to him.
Mr. Baker?
Mike Baker is going to speak right now. I think he's Puyallup. Is that right?
I'm down to Graham South.
Graham's, yeah. So very good. We're going to turn it over to him. He had kind of a SWAT team show up, so let's hear from him for a second.
Mike, you're up.
I really didn't want to get on the public display here. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I want to live my life. I want the freedom to live my life. The Constitution are God-given rights, not government-given rights. This is unacceptable behavior by our government, and it's an overstep. This is disgusting, and it's a disgrace for all the men who serve this country. How much blood was shed? What do we got to do to get through to Inslee and anyone else that wants to trample on our rights? Wake up, people. Please wake up. This is sick. We're going to look back on this for a long time. Think about it. These guys put their life on the line for what? For what? This is a sick and gross display of power and control, and he doesn't want to give it up. He couldn't be the president, so now he's going to be our president. This is sick. Thank God. Thank you, Lord in heaven, for blessing these people that had the heart to open their business and stand up to the sick display of power. I don't want to do this anymore. Open your doors, people. What are they going to do if we all stand up?
That's right.
This isn't going to get put on air. This isn't going to be allowed by the media. I'm sorry. This isn't the popular opinion. This isn't going to make the cut. Doesn't fit the narrative. But you know, we need to stand together in these times, guys. You're going to lose everything.
Open up
Okay?
now.
I don't want to be a slave. I'm sorry. Okay? I've been a tax slave long enough. You know, they give us just enough to stay quiet. You guys take your free checks and sit on your butts and let us tell you how to be safe.
Stay together. They're going to pick you off one by one. Mr. Baker, Mr. Baker.
What happened, G? Because they may not know. Just 1 second, he's going to tell us what actually happened.
Like, ask me a question. What do you mean?
Okay, so Mr. Baker, first, tell us what happened.
My name's Michael Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
Sorry. Would you tell us what happened at your gym? Also tell us why you're opening and if you're afraid of any legal repercussions.
I'm terrified for my life. I'm terrified for my wife, my kids. I'm terrified. But I can't sit back any longer. It's never going to end. You know, they put a marker up so high nobody can jump and reach it. You know, what is this for? You know, to prove a climate change agenda? When is the climate not changing? Give me a break, okay?
What happened at your business?
Yeah, tell us what actually happened.
Well, we got shut down and forced to not have any liberty anymore. We got forced to be silent and get in a cage. What do you do to prisoners who mess up? You put them in solitary confinement. Guess what? Our whole nation just got put in solitary confinement. And it's absurd. Okay? Yeah, you let the prisoners out and you put business owners in.
Did armed officers come? Was there, you know, a group of police officers or whoever who came and just...
I think you're
Everyone-
misunderstanding. Mike Jellison was one PA Fitness that had that happen.
No,
PA Fitness,
I understand. Okay.
PA Fitness
I just
had
wanted
those
to-
things
did the
happen.
same thing happen to you?
I've had nothing but support from law enforcement. Stand up for your rights are the only things I've heard in my community. And thank God you're doing this. That's the only message I've had. I've had one negative phone call from a supporter of the other side, and I get it. I understand when you're fed all that information your whole life, you know, God bless her, you know? But when you're on my side of things, and my parents who opened this company 20 years ago, you know, 10 days before 9/11, okay, we got through that. And then, you know, bankers crashed everything again in 2008, we got through that. And now they're just forcing us to shut down, even though we got to pay our licenses. You know, this is what, I can't believe this. Where am I? Is this communist China? I thought this was the United States of America. Or is it the USSA? Is that where we're at? Are we in the USSA now? This is sick. It's gross. I'm disgusted. I got the media outside my club now. This isn't what I wanted. I don't want any attention. I don't want to be Inslee's next target. You know, he's sitting there comfortable on his, you know, $10,000 couch like, screw this guy's life up. They're talking bad about us. Screw this guy's life up. Screw his life up. Screw your life up. And anyone that stands up to our regime, we're going to ruin them. This is sick. If the Founding Fathers came back to life today, they'd be like, why do you think you have the Second Amendment right, folks? Why do you think? You have freedom of speech, then you have the right to defend it. Like, there's a reason that all happened. There's a reason they set this thing up so government could never be in control of the people. Governments become corrupt. Look through history. Read the Bible, for goodness sake. What happens to kings? What happens to these rulers and tyrants? You give someone enough power and enough control, they're going to destroy everything. We're not made. No one man is made to have control over people. In my opinion, and everyone, I respect your opinions, let God be in control of this country again, please. Please. You know, there's no harm in reading the Bible in school. I get it, I understand. I don't want to force anyone into any religion, you know, but teaching people morals and ethics, nothing wrong with that in my book. I'm sorry. And I respect everyone that comes into my club, no matter what their background, no matter what they believe. I love those people. That's what I'm called to do. Okay? I just want to feed my family. I just want to pay my mortgage. I'm not trying to get rich. I'm not trying to take over the world. I just want to have fun in my community, live a good life, be a good person, and help people. Is that too much to ask?
Really?
You know, I couldn't not come down here and stand up for myself. I didn't want to do this. I don't have the guts that these guys have. I didn't have the courage to serve our country and put my life on the line. I didn't have the courage. I'm sorry. I'm not that guy.
Sir, and last name spelled N-I-C-K?
Stand up today.
I'm the owner of Graham Fitness. If you want to find out who I am, like it's out there.
I'm just trying to get your last name spelled right. Would you tell me, sir?
Last name is Nick,
N-I-C-K.
like the New York Knicks.
All right. Thank you very much. Tim, I have a question for you.
Let him go back.
God bless America. Let me have my life back.
So what was the question, Essex?
A question for you. If you are successful in being elected governor, you will take office just as the second wave of this virus is coming. Will you be willing to shut down businesses in order to protect the health of the people of the state?
I think we've already seen that other states like South Dakota, like Colorado, the governor of Colorado specifically said, we're opening up our state and we're counting on personal responsibility from citizens. They find that it's actually worked out better. It is very clear that in January, if I'm governor, I'm going to have my hands full cleaning up the mess that Jay Inslee just made over the previous session. And I really think it's frustrating that so many people in the media will not ask Jay Inslee the very simple question is, you're saying it's heartless for these people to provide for their families. You're willing to insult regular citizens, yet you think it's perfectly fine that the tribes open up all the casinos. You're perfectly fine with Lowe's and the big corporations serving people, but small business owners are somehow heartless if they are just trying to survive and be able to provide for their families. I find it so insulting that his priority is actually going after these guys. And the greatest frustration I have, and I can't help but talk about this, we hear it all the time, we do not have the resources to do anything about crime on the streets. We have no resources to be able to take care of the homeless. We have no resources to take care of illegal immigration. Yet we've got overall law enforcement on all levels showing up daily at every one of their houses, all other businesses.
So Tim, you would not do
I am extremely frustrated that that's where they're going to put the priority of law enforcement is going after these guys instead of the actual problems we have in the state. To answer your question directly, there is no way under any circumstances I would shut down a state. That I would not force people to stay in their homes. I would ask them, I would persuade them, I would encourage them. I would do what other states have done and allow people the personal responsibility to be able to do it. You can't have one person telling 7 million people how to live their lives. You just can't do it.
That's a dictatorship.
There's just one more point I want to make, is that there is simply no reason, if Steve is successful with his lawsuit, it doesn't mean we just open back up again. We go back to a representative republic where if they want to put limitations on us, do it through open government. Have hearings, let citizens speak, allow them to pass laws in the House and the Senate, and a governor signs it into law. Doing it unilaterally, you get this goofy, stupid system where he says fishing in the middle of a lake is somehow dangerous if you have a hook in the water, but it's not safe if you actually, or it is safe for you to be able to just sit in the boat without a hook in the water. That idiocy is because he's deciding for himself. For everybody. A public hearing, you'd never get away with that kind of crap. But because he's not really that bright, that's the basic ideas that he's coming up with on his own. And representative democracy is citizens having a voice in their government, and right now we have one person deciding for 7 million people. I'd rather have one person trusting 7 million people.
Question just about timing. These lawsuits are important to be heard right away to be effective. Can any of these lawsuits be heard prior to July when all the phases start relaxing in a way?
Yeah, he's asking the question, can these lawsuits be heard before July? Now, you know, there's a lot of emergency orders that are affecting the courthouses right now. For instance, the doors to the temple here are closed and locked. And so there are a lot of guidelines that are in place. However, in the particular case of asking for a writ of mandamus, we've been at these courthouse steps before seeking this same remedy, not as well prepared and with not as strong an argument. Now the argument is very concise and it's very strong, and it depends on what the justices want to do. You know, and this is what's so important about this, and this is why this is all persuasion. It's all persuasion. The truth is that this is really the last opportunity for this judiciary to act to preserve this constitutional state. This is really it. These are wholly state issues, and we didn't bother with the superior courts because there's no issues of law. It's all issues of fact. It's predicated upon the governor's orders, his executive orders, particularly the COVID-19 orders. So the court knows what they are. The court can look at it and they can say either it's constitutional or it's unconstitutional. And if it's unconstitutional, he's exceeding his authority, then the court has the right to issue a writ of mandamus and just say, thou shalt not. Now go do your duty. You took an oath to defend the Constitution. Go do your duty.
Always on time to take action.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, listen, I have confidence in the court right now. And I have confidence in the court because of what the court recently did to stop Inslee from emptying the prisons and putting murderers back on the street. I don't know who came up with that idea, but I think it was Xi Jinping, quite frankly. But at any rate, this court, 5-4, voted and said, nope, you're not doing that. This court is moving. This court is neither liberal nor conservative. The court is objective, and it has the opportunity. And the critical thing here is this. Look, under these contact tracers, which are up there in that helicopter right now, threatening to take your children and put them in an internment camp, the concentration camps which Jay Inslee's already building around the state. We know that, the detention facilities, we know that. And his contact tracers, I mean, I got a tip for the contact tracers. I think Inslee has a fever. All right, start there. Or if you really want to trace contact, start with the 850 tainted testing swabs that came in from the CDC. Why don't you trace those for a minute? But in the meantime, all these threats of, we're going to take your children away, we're going to put you in an internment camp, we're going to do this. Let me just say this to the Supreme Court. If you don't defend our Constitution now, what prevents him from walking in the door and saying, Mrs. Chief Justice, you have a fever. The time to act is now. The exigent circumstances are before us, and the tenor of this state and its temperature, and believe me, the state has a fever. And that fever needs a prescription, and that prescription is more Calvin. I'm just kidding. What I'm saying is this. The court has the opportunity. The court is not ignorant. The court knows what the temperature of the state is. The court knows the trepidation among the people. The court can see the unemployment numbers. The court can see the eventual destruction of landlords and of tenant housing and commercial real estate, which is now vacant. Right? You're talking a substantial, substantive economic crash. The court is well aware of that. Are they aware of it enough to consider this writ of mandamus to be under exigent circumstances? I think the answer is yes, and I think we're going to have a decision very quickly as to whether or not the court is going to accept the writ. If the court accepts the writ, that's the first question. If they accept the writ, then we will be asking for an emergency hearing on the merits to see if we can get the court to promptly consider what is happening. And if the court does, and I can tell you if the court does accept this writ, the Constitution is very clear and Jay Inslee is very outside of it.
Steve made the point that I really wanted to make as well, is that justices are politicians too. They're on the ballot, quite a few of them are on the ballot this November. They're watching what's happening. They're paying attention to what's going on, all the suffering that's going on. They know the legislature is powerless to do anything about it. They know he's not moving as far as, from rallies. The lawsuit, the judiciary, is really the citizens' only chance, and these justices know it. It is on them. We have the federal courts, we have the state courts, and we have this lawsuit with the Supreme Court. All of them know that the other ones are looking at this thing. We need justice, and justice delayed is justice denied. We need a decision now, not later, because every day that goes by, more people are like these heroic gentlemen that are suffering. Their clients are suffering. Their employees are suffering. We need relief and justice now, and that's what this lawsuit gives us the opportunity to do. So, love you guys. Any other questions?
Right now.
We've never, ever quarantined the healthy.
Mike, yeah, you go.
I've never seen anything like this before, and as the numbers are coming back, and if you were to count all the healthy people, those of us who have had it, haven't felt a symptom or anything, and yet we're doubling down on this, and it just doesn't even make sense. It's ridiculous. Too much about work.
Mr. Inslee, Mr. Ferguson, Ms. Holbert, shout out to our little Arlington Lovely out there. Yes. Use this as a template. I've shown that this can work. Use me as a template, not a target. Please.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. Talk amongst yourselves. Really appreciate you coming out. This lawsuit, I think, is a tremendous opportunity for us, and it would not happen if not for these heroic gentlemen. So let's hear it for them.
Open up now! Open up now! Let's do this camera.
My name's Aaron. So I actually work in the public.
Open up now! 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 Open up now!
Oh, they shoot me? They get me live at it?
Freedom, not fear!
They got more cameras than me.
Huh?